Hi everyone, welcome back. And in this video, I'll be giving you some information on can a traditional project manager transition to an IT project manager? So, this were some questions that I got. So, I thought I'll take a video on this so that whatever little information I can share, I will share it in this video. So, let's get into this. So, similarly, like an IT project manager, there are other project managers also. Okay, so you have project managers from who belong to the architectural side, marketing, finance, electrical, electronics, etc. There are going to be every industry and every domain has project managers. So similarly, the IT industry also has IT project managers. Okay, so if you are some a project manager in another industry and if you want to transition into IT, then this is little information for you. So the very ground skills of every project manager is going to be the same irrespective of whichever industry you belong to. So as a project manager, if you're from the no matter whatever industry, you're going to mainly focus on the project scope, the budget, and the timeline. Apart from that, you're going to have other duties and functions that you need to execute, such as managing the resources, the team members within your project, the skills you need to hire the right skill sets into your project, organizing your team, forecasting. Then you need to be able to make informed decisions on what on related to your project. You need to be able to focus on how the project execution is going on. You need to have an oversight of it, communication, etc., etc., etc. So this is all going to be common. So there's going to be no change in your ground skill sets. Okay, when you look at other project managers, everyone needs to be able to have a domain knowledge. So if you belong to the mechanical and electrical, electronics, marketing, civil, you definitely need to have some ground rule and some ground knowledge about that particular industry and the domain, because only when you know what you are dealing with, you would be able to make right decisions and you would be able to make the right moves. So similarly, for an IT project manager, it's going to be the same. When you're dealing with IT projects, so in IT industry, you're very focused and it's going to be very specialized to IT projects. Okay, so when you're going to deal with projects that is related to information technology, definitely you need to have a good understanding and good knowledge of how the IT industry functions. Now, when I say that, it doesn't mean that you need to be a pro expert into information technology, but you need to have a good general basic understanding of the IT and how the IT works and basic IT terminologies and how each different areas function and work. So the very width, the length, and the breadth and depth of IT knowledge needs to be there for a project manager. So for a project manager have who wants to transition into IT, why I say that, why people recommend that it's good to have a background and a good foundation of information technology and IT is because only when you have the right knowledge, you would be able to make the best informed decisions. You'll be able to, you know, um, manage the entire project. I'll be telling you how in the next slide, but to put it in a summary, imagine there is a pilot and the pilot wants to fly a plane. Flying is easy. It's if you're a pilot, yes, you can fly the plane, but having knowledge, having the experience would make the pilot a well experienced pilot in order to be able to fly even during bad weather. Similarly, that's how a project manager should be. You cannot just have a very high level understanding of going what's going on. You just cannot just blindly say that I don't know what this means, I don't know how this works, I don't know this particular concept, I'm unaware of this particular functionality. This cannot be a situation. So basically, when it comes to IT, there are different aspects that you should at least be knowing. For example, you'll be dealing with sometimes migrations of applications, migrations of data. You need to have some understanding. Integrations. Every application is going to be integrated with each other. There's going to be integrations with third party applications. So there should be a basic understanding of what does this mean. You're going to prioritize. You're going to deal with large number of tech stacks, okay, different programming languages. You're going to be should be able to estimate certain tasks and estimate certain releases. Then you're going to have different technologies. There are different sectors where you have like software, you have hardware, you have infrastructure, networking, etc. So all this is some basic understanding you need to be aware of. Else imagine you just going into some project not having an understanding, but still you want to be able to manage that project. So that's why people say that it's always good to have an understanding and basic knowledge of IT. So what can you do to prepare to start a ITPM career as a non-ITPM? Okay. So if you just want, if you're trying to get into IT and you don't have any idea of what is this IT about, the main very key thing, there are different, starter things that you can get started with. For example, you can take up PMP courses and then you can, do a lot of research, etc. But the main thing that when I found out, when I spoke to different project managers and when I did my own research and analysis, I found out that it's very important that project managers, especially in IT, should be able to speak the IT language. Okay, speak the IT language meaning that they should be able to speak the language and understand. So they need to have a basic knowledge and latest trends of what's happening in IT. Now I'll tell you why. So you're a project manager. You definitely have to be the bridge, the bridging or the bridge between, you need to bridge the gap between the business side people and your technical team. That is your project team. So you're going to be that middleman. So when you are this middleman, you are going to be in constant communication with the stakeholders as well as with the technical team. So there were different situations where when you spoke to these two personas, okay, these two people, sometimes the technical team would say that it's really frustrating because the project manager doesn't understand why a particular task is taking so long. They don't even understand what are the complexities that go on. All they are very interested in is in that the work is completed on time and that a particular work is done. They don't understand the complexity of certain things. This is all general frustrations of the technical team. When things are conveyed, there is no basic understanding, there is no basic reasoning out. So they feel that their end, they are not able to communicate and they are not being understood. This happens because sometimes project managers are not well aware of or don't have much of an understanding of the technical side aspects. To be very frank, as a business analyst, I also had the situation where I was very focused on features being completed without understanding the complexity of a particular feature or task that's being developed. But later on, when you understand, when you sit with the technical team, when you understand what is happening, you would realize that definitely sometimes there is a lot of complexities that prevent them from completing the task at the right time. So it's at this particular point where a project manager, only when the project manager has this type of an understanding, when the manager is able to understand these different pain points of the technical team, they would be able to really, be on the same page with the technical team. They would be able to understand, put their shoes in the, put themselves in the shoes of the technical team, and they would be able to reason out. Okay, so that's why it's very important that you speak the language of the technical team. Now it's not only that you speak the language of the technical team. On the other hand, you have the business stakeholders. The business stakeholders, they don't focus much on technical aspects like A, B, and C, infrastructure, this, and that. No, that's nothing. All they want is they want features to be released at the right time. They want value. They don't understand what is the complexity your team is facing. All they want is they want value and they want features to be released at the right time with the right budget. So it's very important that you as a project manager, you should be able to get the requirements of the stakeholders. Sometimes, now this is something very key to understand, some stakeholders might be business stakeholders, they might not speak too much of technical language, but believe me, there are some stakeholders that you might have to coordinate with, and they are really tech savvy people. So at that time they might come up with a lot of technical stuff. At that time you should be able to handle that situation, and you should be able to handle that information, because you are the one who's going to handle the technical team, carry about requirements from the stakeholders to your technical team. So it's very important that you should be able to understand the client requirements from the business end, as well as convey those requirements, challenge the team. Okay, so now let's say the team comes up and says they are facing certain problems. You as a project manager with some technical background, just you should be able to say, okay, maybe why not this, it can be something silly, it can be something that is out of the box, but you should be able to at least give them a push, give them some direction. This is something that project managers should do. And also you should ask questions, ask why something is performing a particular way, what are the difficulties that are being faced, why is it being faced. You should be able to reason out, and you should be able to understand both the people you are communicating with, the technical as well as the business stakeholders. So that's why I say you should be able to speak the IT language, because if you're not going to have an idea of what is going on, definitely it's going to be a problem. You also would just be, blank on certain things. You would not be able to prioritize things. You would not be able to estimate certain things. You would not be able to contribute well, which is going to create a lot of problem. So I always suggest, if you're wanting to, if you're someone who doesn't know what IT is, get to know what IT is, how IT project managers work, get to, start looking into basic IT stuffs, what can, basic terminologies, basic concepts, something that's really basic, and don't get into the details. Just try to understand basic IT trends and IT basic knowledges. That should be a good start for you. Apart from that, keep focusing on your PM skills also. But if at all you want to focus and you want to transition to IT PMs, then definitely having IT knowledge is going to be really a big benefit to you. So that's it for this video. I hope this video was helpful. So if you like this video, please do give this a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe to this channel, and also do share your feedbacks. Thank you.